This video is not made for kids, it is for Transformers fans and fellow aspiring artists.
Your presence is feared by the enemy and your achievements respected by your comrades. But with the right vision, the renegade Decepticons could be so much more. Wouldn't you agree?
Ha! I'm already thinking of a new name for us.
Oh, and what might that be?
The Combaticons.
You've been waiting a long time for this one, haven't you? Alright, so, the Combaticons are a group of combiner Decepticons. Onslaught, Brawl, Swindle, Vortex, and Blastoff form the terrifying Bruticus. In the original cartoon, these Decepticons were brought back by Starscream so he could get back at Megatron for banishing him. The Combaticons have appeared in a lot of Transformers media one way or another, with their iconic appearance in Transformers Follow Cybertron or their individual members like Brawl or Swindle occasionally showing up in movies or TV shows. It's nice to see them even if they don't bring in the full team. And due to popular demand, I've decided to take up the challenge of integrating them in my Transformers AU, redesign every Combaticon and explain how they fit in my story. So the rules are different here, in that there are no rules. Because I did the Constructicons during a holiday break, I was comfortable giving myself deadlines and such. Now that I have responsibilities, I just finished these at my own pace. I even stopped using the wheel at a certain point. But we're not there yet, so spin to your heart's content, my wheelicious wheel.
And yet, without me, the Combaticons, Bruticus, would be crawling through exhaust pipes on their way to the Sea of Rust.
Well, this is a surprise. See, I've got to confess, I've never really had a proper connection with the Combaticons besides a few select members. I also never had the chance to play Follow Cybertron.
Wait, what?
When I did Onslaught, I was a bit lost. I picked an alt mode that was perfect for him. The 9K720 Iskander seemed pretty big, so I didn't have to worry about Bruticus being horribly disproportionate. But as for overall look, I didn't feel like I knew enough of the character to do any cool deviations, and it ended up just following the G1 silhouette a little too much. But there is a gimmick with him, and it's that he loves tattoos. These tattoos aren't just a display of pride. It shows that even as a great tactician, he still has time to be an artist. It puts his resilience on full display and shows how he doesn't need to hide to win a battle. Also, my parents and I just watched Al Pacino's performance in Son of a Woman, so I decided to just make Onslaught a Russian Frank slave. Anyway, here he is. If you noticed, his hands are based on Prime's evil knuckles. You know, the ones he used to kill Shockwave. I like the lore and stuff. His character is really fun, but actually this is the design I'm the least proud of. Still, I'm sure the G1 fans will like this. Don't worry about that. That just means there are better ones on the way. And speak of the devil, and so he shall appear.
Let me tell you, I'm just a deaf lunatic with a glitchy trigger finger.
First off, this was my first silhouette test. Isn't he beautiful? When it comes to the 07 cons, I don't want to just repeat their designs, though at the same time, I still want to pay homage to them. Here's my barricade design, for example. I used the DS head sprite as a base inspiration of how he should look like. So instead of just looking like Bay Barricade again, well, that's kind of what happened, but there's a different vibe, you know? He's more stern like he is in the DS game, less monstrous. That's what led to this Brawl head design, and so the rest was history. I tried to take reference from 07 Brawl's alt mode, G1's colors, Bulldog's concept art for the kibble management, and my personal favorite, Armada Megatron's back cannon. I wanted to keep his sonic blaster like in G1. That's when I had the idea that he's actually deaf. It's a bit silly, but when your weapon shoots weaponized sound waves, I guess it makes sense. As a result, Brawl is completely silent to the Autobots and makes him terrifying. It also is kind of a nod to how the 07 cons don't really speak, but unlike the movie Brawl, my version of Brawl still has a lot to say. Brawl still speaks through comms, so in a way he still can hear things, it's just on a different wavelength from everyone else. To the Autobots, he's a silent killer. To his fellow Decepticons, he's an asshole. But he's not the only one, so let's see who's next!
The planet just can't produce as many spark floats as fast as we are fastening. Without them, the heat from the core will continue to rise. I will have to work twice as hard to find coolants. Cybertron isn't dying, it's that its atmosphere, its weather, everything about our home is changing. And if you don't want to make our lives hell, you must listen to what Vortex has to say.
The silhouette for Vortex was decided almost immediately, and I wanted to give them this asymmetrical helicopter look just because I'd never really seen it done before. It was a huge challenge and I kept checking for better alt modes. I ended up sticking with the Havoc. I had a fair bit of trouble with the head, but eventually Overgear Blackout and Bumblebee Movie Dropkick came in clutch, and I just mixed them both into Vortex's final head design. I used the G2 colors, and it reminded me of my friend who was studying meteorology. And it gave me the idea, what if Vortex was a climatologist? I mean, it's in the name. What if Vortex had a passion for Cybertron's weather patterns and saw a big issue with the environment before the war? And it's because the government ignored them that they chose to align themselves with the Decepticons. Here's the final look. I'm super proud of how they came out. But the bio is where I really had trouble with. I had to go through multiple revisions because there was just so much information to cram in one paragraph. When I write these characters, I think about how they represent the world around them. One example is the way Cybertronians see gender. See, Cybertronians are genderless. They just get to pick their pronouns when they have to learn English. It's just that Vortex doesn't like human gender very much. I wanted to put that in, but it was just too much stuff, you know? It's a shame because Vortex quickly became my favorite Combaticon, but I can't reveal everything in one monologue. It just wouldn't sound natural. These are the older bios which are no longer canon, and here's the final bio. But their non-binary identity is still canon, so you either refer to them as they, them, or you refer to Vortex name only. Whew! That was a lot. Luckily, the next one should be way simpler.
Oh, sometimes I scare myself. But all is fair in love, war, and business.
I have another thing to confess. I kind of cheated. I drew Swindle a day before I drew Onslaught because I saw the perfect alt mode for him. The Conquest Knight 15, and I even cheated at that because I decided that their story takes place in an alternate 2007, and this thing was produced in 2008. But it's so perfect! It's apparently one of the most luxurious armored vehicles, and you can't tell me that's not Swindle. Swindle's silhouette and facial features are heavily inspired by my friend Appa's design, who also voice acts him in my continuity. Go check out his YouTube channel, he's working on an original series called Strange Space Beyond. Another friend of mine looked at this part of the leg and thought he just had no knees, but it's basically the doors folding to become his side skirts. He's basically wearing a tailcoat. I try to make a sort of collar by folding in the doors and windshield to form his necks, and there's a stripe that sort of simulates an undershirt. The hood as the stomach is a cool look, but also just in case I wanted to give him that elephant pocket thing he has in Transformers Animated, the door's always open. Swindle's character follows his animated incarnation more. He's a sleazy one-man black market. Harvested organs, spare parts, weapons of mass destruction, he's got it all. He intends to keep the war going as long as possible so he can get maximum profit. While most Combaticons would agree with this sentiment, his position actually makes things a lot more difficult for him. Anyway, that's all. He's a simple man with simple needs. Let's see who's next. Before we move on to the final member, let's talk about...
This war is... it's made me into something I'm not. And when I thought I could finally end, it just keeps going.
Alright, so, Hardtop was not part of the wheel. I made her way later down the line. The reason why is because of how Bruticus worked. I had earlier sketches and realized there were huge issues with the proportions. So I decided that Hardtop should be an original member who was there since the Renegade glory days. My base idea started from the fact that she was Swindle's oath sister who joined the Combaticons, and she was the kind of person who didn't like saying no. If Swindle was the type of person to make shady deals, Hardtop would be the kind of person to take them. And because of that, she became a total war machine with upgrades she didn't want. But she took them because she thought she needed them. So maybe once upon a time she looked more like her smaller self, but here, she's bulked up, somewhat against her will. She's basically the polar opposite of Crowbar in a way, but also a mirror to Demolisher if he didn't join the Constructicons. If you'd like to know who those are, go watch my Return to Cybertron series and my Constructicon redesign video. Anyway, for the design itself, I wanted an amphibious vehicle as a way to balance with Swindle and Vortex considering what happens to them in the story. One is a land vehicle, one is an air vehicle, and one is a semi-aquatic vehicle. I'll be honest though, I'm not too proud of the silhouette or the colors here. Some people pointed out she looks like Lugnut, which... This was the best I could come up with at the time, and honestly I'm not entirely sure how to fix that, if it's even broken in the first place. The head design is also something I need to play around with more. I like the idea that she's damaged there and just hasn't gotten her face fixed like Demolisher. I just think I could have done better. Oh well, I'm sure someone will like her better than I do. You know, they say you're your own worst critic, but clearly they've never met. Blastoff is easily my favorite Combaticon design so far, and I couldn't have done it without help. A lot of the ideas for the silhouette were brainstormed with a friend, Keripik. Go subscribe to him, he's also a Transformers fan who makes Gundam animations in freaking Gmod. We even collaborated once. He had the idea to give him shoulder blades that form from the front of the jet, and the wings forming the legs like one of the cone heads, which gave me the idea of making him look like an up arrow. I took a lot of reference from Revenge of the Fallen Breakaway for the chest, so he'd look different from the other Seekers. His colors were a bit of a mess to figure out because I wanted to make him look G1, but also that looked a little too boring. Though I didn't want to just repeat the camo patterns from Brawl or tattoos from Onslaught, so I gave him stripes and insignias. Sometimes simple works. Alright, to address the space shuttle in the room, Blastoff in fact no longer transforms into a space shuttle. He transforms into a J-35 Draken. It's just that he sort of still has space shuttle elements. Honestly, he looks more like a conehead, and it gives me pointers on how I can design them later on. See, Seekers aren't all Warborn, but they're just a jet template body type before the war began, optimized later to adapt to the war. Blastoff chose not to join the Seekers, instead he stuck with the renegade Decepticons and eventually formed the chest of Bruticus. Another fun thing I did is that Blastoff doesn't speak English, he speaks Cybertronian. People tried to decipher what his bio says in my community post, and it was super fun to watch. This is technically ancient Cybertronian, but I don't think there was any other fonts for the newer languages. I would have used them if they existed. I just don't want to make a whole new conlang for this. That aside, I wanted to emulate Baver's Starscream through Blastoff. Give him those threatening noises he makes when he's speaking in Cybertronian. But also add a layer of spite, hatred, and pride to him. That's why he refuses to speak English or any human language for that matter. He's a huge elitist gatekeeper, which makes it a nightmare for the new
I've heard you just had to let go of 3 members, and I take it you're looking for replacements. I've got to say, Onslaught, I actually approve of just about 2 of these. Wreckage in particular is much, much fiercer than he looks. He may seem dull, but his skills are as sharp as ever. And you know Turbo Master's infamous for her adoration of the Combaticons. They're both decent soldiers, believe me. But Bonecrusher! What a choice! I suppose he already has the necessary upgrades. His parts just need a bit of tweaking to fit with Bruticus. Well, it can't be helped. If I may, perhaps recruit more members to prepare in case Bruticus loses a limb or 2. Before I left, I've tried talking with a few people about this, and it seems that Nitro Zeus and Grindor are interested. So let me know what you think. And if you like them, you can just contact them yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for the Combaticons when I come back. Best of luck, old friend. Starscream out.
It's impressive what the Autobots and the humans have done here. With such low temperatures and sustainable ways to extract energon, perhaps coexisting with organics might be our only hope. Yet our leader would rather exterminate them all.
Well, don't forget, he has the support of all the Combaticons. Well, maybe it's not too late to switch sides? Oh, it might be too much of a gamble ever since the DJD returned to Cybertron.
Vortex supposes we just have to convince your brother. The Decepticons intend on continuing this war, and Swindle will profit, as he always does.
I'll talk to him myself. I just want all this to end.
After the Decepticons won the war, Swindle, Hardtop, and Vortex decided to part ways with the Combaticons, leaving them 3 members short of a completed Bruticus. While they all chipped in by recommending replacement members, Onslaught and Starscream thought it would be a good idea to recruit backups in case they don't make it. The Constructicons and Combaticons were the only combiners by the end of the war. The Constructicons found easy work, and they never liked combining the Devastator to begin with. But without a war to fight and members drifted apart, Bruticus became obsolete. However, Onslaught was ready to fight to maintain his place in the world, so he kept preaching about anticipating an attack or an invasion. Luckily for him, Megatron always put military first as a show of strength. The value of the Combaticons was still recognized despite his team's lack of proper direction, until the Autobots were found on Earth, with a whole new city to boot, and so the Combaticons are back in business. Here we have 5 new members, and well, they're not perfect, but the smart Decepticons would really rather not be part of a combiner. There's no wheel, so let's just cut to the chase and start with... Wait a minute. That's not... No.
Ridiculous! It begs the question, if it was such a sin, then why did it taste so damn good?
Okay, for those new, I've been foreshadowing Bonecrusher quite a bit since the Constructicons video. We don't talk about Bonecrusher, says Mixmaster if you read Longhaul's bio. But I actually had no idea what he did wrong. Before I get into that though, let's talk about his design. This alt mode's a bit weird because I wanted to mix the G1 Bulldozer Bonecrusher with the Bay Buffalo Minesweeper alt mode. There was this Korean Minesweeper that looked perfect. The issue is that it was made pretty recently and not when the movie takes place in 2007. So I decided, screw it, just slap that on the Buffalo and voila, he's ever so slightly more G1 accurate. I wanted it so he has a regular human-ish face, which just makes whatever crimes he committed way funnier. Because it wasn't Deathlord 3000 who did it, it was Steve across the street. But then I looked at the Bay Bonecrusher a bit more and realized that's a skeleton. And it clicked for me because Bonecrusher looks like a skeleton. That's so cool. And after that, I just tried to make his face look kind of skull-like. As for the lore, my friends and I discussed a lot on what Bonecrusher could have done. Once again, Keripik came in clutch, and also Sekigan also helped me a lot here. So after figuring out how Cybertronian digestion worked in my AU, I decided it would be fine if Bonecrusher just ate corpses. But the other thing is that he also eats everything else. So when he starts eating materials the Constructicons use to build stuff, everyone is livid. Essentially, he wasn't kicked out because he was a corpse-eating maniac, it was because he was eating their equivalent of drywall. And the dust. Basically, Cybertronians have to eat a certain amount of metal. They don't have to eat more than they need to, and if they do, it gets expelled as dust. And since Bonecrusher eats a lot, he's a walking dust generator. All I'm saying is he's lucky he's in the Combaticons, even if they also don't want him there. Well, that's a good start. Let's see who else is new.
But it's thanks to the war that I finally feel like I can finally surpass my brother. Pompous prick! I'll show him who's boss!
Grindor and Blackout have had head designs for a while now, and I wanted the separation to be that Blackout was a sophisticated, well-spoken character like in the DS game, while Grindor is the total opposite. He's a simple-minded brute who wants to prove that he's better than his oath brother. The color and tattoos also represent the different movies they were introduced in. Blackout's a clean gray, while Grindor looks more yellow with tattoos. I even have old sketches for Grindor, and they were made before I was made aware of the Springer concept art. So I just took a lot of references from that, mixed that with my old silhouette, and there you go. I even gave him a pair of flamethrowers. No reason, I just thought it'd be sick and would fit with the kibble. I wanted the nose to fold in, but then I realized it would look better if it didn't. That way it's also the same language as Blackout. His tattoos don't really mean anything as opposed to Onslaught, who puts effort and thought into what they mean, and Grindor just wanted to look cool. That's Grindor, a bit quick, but frankly not much to say about him. Not that many issues happened when designing him.
What the hell did I do? Wasn't my fault Swindle wanted out, I was just filling in for the guy.
Wreckage and the members after this weren't actually my choices. One of my viewers, I Like MMX, was an awesome art style by the way, accidentally suggested him to me. He thought Hardtop was Wreckage, so I decided, well, let's just add Wreckage to the team. Man, this design is underrated. I think I didn't do it justice, but then again I didn't want to just repeat it. The Saddam 25 is pretty small, so I had the idea he replaces Swindle, who's also pretty small. The transformation here is unique because it's a warpath thing, but like, so how it works is that the bat sort of unhinges and flips over the turret, and it's still connected to the sides of the vehicle which form the arms. The waist swivel is below that, so it works fine. Then, the middle of the vehicle forms the legs. And the treads are also unique because the treads are connected to the bottom of the thigh rotation. That way, it doesn't lock the thigh into place. Wreckage was fun to design from a transformation perspective, though I'm not satisfied with how solid he looks. Like, he's not really using that movie aesthetic anymore where it's panels on panels. I don't know, it still looks good overall to me, so I can't really complain. He's a pretty simple character, so you can read his bio for yourself. So, I Like MMX also suggested another character on accident because he posted his drawings of his Combaticon team in my community. And I just yoinked one of the characters in his roster because I kind of forgot he existed. So, here comes...
Baby, free at last! Thank Megatron, I'm free at last!
Nitro Zeus, I need you to open fire at the coordinates I've sent you. Use your missiles. Oh, it's about time we've got ourselves a comeback! Who am I hitting, brother? A small town of organics to divert the Dinobots' attention. Hurry, their comrades are counting on you. Hey, wait a minute. They got nothing to do with this. What's going on? Not up for debate, soldier. Fire now! No.
So, when I chose the A10 Thunderbolt for this guy, I just did it because it would match his back kibble, but then I realized Nitro Zeus, Thunderbolt. And, well, I didn't think of that until someone mentioned it to me. Not too proud of how he looked when the line art was finished, but the colors quickly redeemed him. The Gatling gun was a later addition after a friend talked about the A10's gun. It was a bit of a missed opportunity considering Nitro's actual kibble management. His cockpit folds into his arm in The Last Night, which could have been the same here. Instead, it's a warpath kind of deal. It still looks cool, I suppose. If you notice, the wings kind of transform in an interesting way. There's a hinge in the armpit, and there's a joint that connects to the shoulder rotation. The hinge folds so it flattens out so it can kinda sorta fit in the wing. then connects to the shoulder later on. The head design in particular was a bit of a challenge. I wanted Nitro Zeus to resemble his concept art while still bringing something new to the table, so I just gave him some shades and called it a day. So, his backstory is that Nitro Zeus got Empurrada because he was framed by an elite Cybertronian trying to save face. Lugnut was also working with him at the time, and he was framed for the same reason. They wanted justice ever since. That's why they joined the Decepticons. Before Nitro Zeus fell from the sky, Swoop tried to save him and steer him away from the civilian town. While she succeeds, Blastoff shoots another missile, forcing Swoop to let go. As a result, Nitro Zeus crash lands near the town. He wakes up with his spark slowly fading away. Looking at the scared civilians, Nitro Zeus realizes what he must do. Stomping loudly, yelling threats, scaring them away into someplace safe. But it looks like not everyone fell for his tricks.
I'm a big, scary monster, and I'll get ya. What are you doing, kid? Get the hell out of here! You've got parents, right? Where's your mom at? Come on, you gotta get out of here. I'm one of the bad guys.
What's your name?
If I tell you, will you go find your parents?
I promise.
It's Nitro Zeus. Now go! It's so dark. I'm scared.
The Autobots won't stand a chance against us, and I'll show them my small size is my biggest strength.
So one of my viewers suggested Turbo Master, but I don't think they could have predicted the concept I had for her. My idea was that she was one of the Decepticons who completely bought into the propaganda and is a Combaticons superfan. She wanted in since forever. But the ideas I had before were so cruel. One of them was that she never actually got in, but she did the combiner upgrades anyway. Wreckage, who wanted to combine at least once in his life, hatched a plan so she could combine before Grindor takes up both arms. And when that happens, Bruticus is surprised and Wreckage is too slow to combine with her, and well, she dies. Because the Dinobots shoot at Bruticus, and Bruticus uses her as a shield. Keep in mind I came up with all this before I drew her. But then I started drawing her and I can't possibly do anything mean to her. Look, she's evil. She's fallen for Decepticon propaganda, which will cause a lot of harm for the humans and all the Autobots and the idea of good itself. But look at her! I want you all to see her. She must be seen. So I just made her an extra member who's just very eager to prove herself. Having the alt mode this small made the transformation super easy to figure out. She kind of transforms like Optimus Prime if you think about it. Either way, super proud of her. I'm finally done. Why did I put so many members? Anyways, for the moment you've been waiting for.
Total domination. That's what the Combiner project was for. You do not fight a war without assured victory.
So now you kinda get it. If you've been following my community posts, you guys must think Bruticus would have been massive. But that's not really the idea. The idea is that Bruticus has multiple limb variations you can kind of mix and match with all these members, and at different points of the story, he's had different members come and go. From a toy's perspective, you can pretty much build your own Bruticus. So you guys don't just get one, you don't get two, you get 3 main versions of Bruticus. 4 if you count Turbo Master. The original Combiner team, which will be shown at the start of Attack on Autobot City, as the old members all decided to combine one last time. The second and third version, which fights the Dinobots in a separate story. Oh, you want to know something fun? So Blastoff hooks himself up to Onslaught, and basically how it works is that he has the thrusters to lift him up to combine both legs. And basically how the articulation works is that the waist joints of the arms become the elbows of the Combiner. The crunch is an elbow bend, the waist swivel is a bicep swivel, and Blastoff's arms bend along with them to make space. Grindor's transformation is also fun because it's basically his head and spark chambers are part of his backpack. So they just fold back as his chest splits and his wings extend to form longer arms. That was so much fun to figure out. That aside, I don't think the backup limb idea was executed very well. I think the novelty would work better if there were more members, which would have destroyed my hands. Look, man, I need a break from time to time. If I had to do another 4 members, I think I would have died. Guys like Dropshot or Hailstorm could totally just be back on Cybertron with a Loyalist Party or something. Bombshot too, and Power Core Combiners might have been new tech they found to make combiners more efficient. And another thing is that I genuinely couldn't find a way to fit Nitro Zeus. I mean, here he is, but like, this sucks. I hate it. So I just made it so Nitro Zeus just doesn't combine yet. They haven't upgraded him yet. He's just extra muscle. But it's whatever. These variants are good enough. Another thing I'm super happy with is how the hands are formed from the vehicle kibble and not like their actual hands. Because that way the members don't just have to carry hands, they have to parts form onto Bruticus. Ah, man, I'm proud of this. Anyway, Onslaught was almost upside down, which means his head would have been Bruticus' dick. So, the story. Basically, my Transformers A Return to Cybertron as a sequel movie called Attack on Autobot City. Take a wild guess on what the Decepticons do in that one. So, Bruticus does show up in the start of that movie as the original members, that way people can see the G1 Combaticons combine to form Bruticus, and also so the original members can fight alongside each other one last time. Then we don't see the Combiners again. All except for Menasor, the only Combiner that makes it to the end of the film. Why is that? Basically, the Decepticons all have their little sub-stories that are explored in the separate series. The Constructicons have their own little story with Bulkhead, Grapple, and Hoist, which, while it has a lot of fighting, it ends pretty peacefully, all things considered. The Combaticons, they have to fight the Dinobots. Yeah. And it's just robot-on-robot violence for the whole episode. Maybe 2 episodes of robot violence. These 2 groups kind of mirror each other in a way. They're both perceived as monsters during the war by each side, and here they are, fighting each other to the death. While the Combaticons kill and take pleasure from it, the Dinobots see it as a necessity. They don't tolerate evil. While Grimlock respects his leader's integrity, his eagerness to kill these monsters is where he and Optimus Prime differ, because it's necessary to him, especially in a war. Meanwhile, Swindle, Vortex, and Hardtop part ways for another sub-story. Swindle essentially sells weapons to anti-Cybertronian groups. These groups see Transformers as a race that's too technologically advanced to trust. They can turn the tables on us at any second, and that's a problem that needs to be solved. And I think it's perfect if Swindle manages to convince them to buy his weaponry, because it shows how persuasive the guy is. Vortex and Hardtop are there to back him up, but over time they start to realize that what the Autobots and humans have done is really impressive, and they start to ask the question, is this war really worth continuing? Or is it time to switch sides?